Everyone, and I know you can hear me. It sounds like I'm in a stadium. Okay, being that this is a special meeting, to begin the special meeting, I'll ask everybody if you can please rise and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, good evening, everyone, and my name is John Birmingham with the Board of Supervisors in Upper Mount Bethel Township, and I'm joined here with Supervisor Jonathan Erler, Supervisor Corey Ekman, Supervisor Jason Albert, and Supervisor David Friedman. I guess we have to approve the agenda. Since this is a special meeting. So we have copies of the agenda up at the podium if anybody wants a copy. With that being said, can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda from the Upper Mount Bethel supervisors?
I'll make a motion we approve tonight's agenda.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
No, aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So tonight, this is our first meeting that we wanted to have a community meeting and invite our neighbors from the surrounding communities to come speak to us. Come let us know your concerns, questions. We'll answer whatever we can and kind of get a dialogue going. So that now that we have new supervisors in, we wanted to change the approach that we've been taking to our neighboring communities. And I know the past administration, and I was part of that past administration, there wasn't much reach out at all. But now we have a new administration that wants to do the best we can to try and be good neighbors. And this is dealing with the development that River Pointe is putting in on River Road. Before we start our discussion, this discussion will only go to about 11:30, midnight, and then no, I'm just kidding. I saw all the elected officials saying, I'm out of here. No, it's only gonna go for an hour till about 8 o'clock. Being that this is the first meeting, and we've had about 4 or 5 meetings, and it's only Wednesday, but we will have future meetings. But this is just a discussion to get things going. So I'd like to take the opportunity, if we could start over here, and if you could just give us name, position, and who you represent, and then we'll go over to East Bangor. So Mayor, we'll start with you.
Is this on?
You're on.
Heather Fisher, I'm the mayor in Portland, so I'm here on behalf of statements that I've made previously and also obviously personal opinions of how I feel it will affect our borough.
Great, thanks, Mayor.
Karen Pfeiffer, I'm from Portland, a councilwoman, and I think I'm not really representing the council per se. I was invited, so I just kind of came to listen or maybe express a personal opinion if I was asked.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Can you hear me? Sandra Newman. I am representing the Lower Mount Bethel Township. I'm on the Plan Slate Belt Board for 3 years, Planning Commission for 12 years, and I am happy to say that I'm no longer a supervisor as of January 1st.
You look very relieved. Well, thank you, Sandra. If we could do East Bangor, please. Great. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you all for being here tonight, and I hope we continue the discussion. But this is going to be very informal, so I'm just going to open it up and ask for questions that you have, concerns? Do you talk to, I'm sure we all talk to our residents, our constituents, but just wanted to hear the thoughts of what you're hearing, what you're seeing out there, and if you want to share your personal view, we're here to listen. So does anybody want to start?
I can start.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank you for bringing us together. This is something that has frustrated my township for the last at least 3 years. There has been no intermunicipal communication about a project that will have incredible impact on everybody that lives in the Slate Belt. So I appreciate this board making an effort to correct that problem, because we see it as a problem.
Thanks.
I have a whole list here, so, most of which I'm sure you've heard before. Obviously, quality of life issues and environmental issues. And I don't have to go into those with you because you all know about, you know, the truck traffic and the commutes that people are going to have and widening 611. We're concerned that there is a lack of agreement on data that's presented, like by Portland and their environmental engineer and by RPL. In Lower Mount Bethel, we just completed, after almost 12 years, a new zoning ordinance. And in that zoning ordinance, we consider ourselves a rural community, and we've done our best to preserve farming as a way of life in our community. And we have more preserved farms than any other municipality in Northampton County. So I'm going to bring up a concern that I don't know if it's been addressed, but we're worried about the impact this is going to have on our farming community. As you know, during planting and harvesting season, there's all sorts of farm traffic. And that's going to present a real issue to the people who are trying to earn a living being farmers. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, and if any other supervisors up here, Upper Mount Bethel, have questions or want to make a comment, you know, jump in. This is our meeting.
I mean, we know it is an issue, the size of the combines. Normally you have a spotter trying to get it down the road. You know, now we increase it with tractor trailers. Sure, cars can move over. Can a tractor trailer move over? Like, I understand.
Yeah.
You know, even where I live, you know, those things come down the road and you're pulling in somebody's driveway. You know,
Yeah,
so
well, you can, I mean, you see all
it's
the
611.
time
Yeah.
on 78 and 22 tractor trailers slipping over. Well, think about that. We've had that happen in our township. Do you know 3 Church Hill?
Oh, yes.
Well, on 3 Church Hill, we've had that happen numerous times.
Well, even, you know,
So-
the one farmer right there on 611, you know, he's got a bad spot to pull out, and the amount of
Yeah.
tractor trailer issues that he's had personally, you know, it's, and just traffic, not just the tractor trailers, but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is an issue. You know, I follow them down 611, 512, they have to, you know, everybody's, Lower Mount Bethel farmers are now coming to Upper Mount Bethel. You know, so they're
Oh, yeah.
traveling a distance, and it's not that you can trailer it, it's gotta be driven by the roads, and they're just, it is a big concern.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Portland? Any,
On that topic?
or any, if you want to expand on that, or,
I mean, I think, you know, the traffic is a big concern for us. I think that the increase in the passenger cars that's anticipated and the tractor trailers have always been a concern for us as they, you know, they've increased over the years, but they stand to, you know, it's gonna take a huge jump with this development. And, you know, anyone that's been to Portland knows that our you know, our main road, it can't handle that kind of traffic. It can't handle the weights or the level. But our back roads, you know, we see trucks that are going to Ultra Poly, are going to make that right turn after, you know, off onto River Road, that they say all the traffic is going to make, which it's not. They make the left and they come down into Portland, and then that's not bad enough. They make another left and they go onto Main Street, and they're up in our small, tiny roads of Portland. And, you know, we've gotten lucky. Most of the truck drivers are fairly skilled at driving and they're able to get out of there. But with this large, quantity of trucks coming down, we're gonna see it off more and more. And if someone's not there at that moment to see, who knows what destruction is gonna be caused and damage is gonna be caused, and there's gonna be no one there to, you know, to pay for it. I mean, that's that issue up on our roads, the roads alone. There was a comment made in an opinion piece from Lou Pector, who said that RPL had been proactive and that the infrastructure issues were going to be covered, shouldered by the neighborhood improvement district. I've never heard that. No one's been able to tell me what that is or where that agreement is that says that will be covered, that any of our roads that, you know, need to be repaired will be covered by that. So, you know, for me, it's just words. It's just a bunch of words and a bunch of diversion and redirection and not a whole lot of answers. Like, I don't see how we're much further along from when this all started.
David, do you have a lot of information about the NID agreement or anything you want to share with that?
Well, the NID will be a wonderful thing if it's implemented correctly. And the problem with the NID is, you know, I think their first initial cost is going to be a ladder truck to service the development up there. Now, if the ladder truck comes in for $1.5 million, Mr. Jason here can give us a price on ladder trucks. You know, a lot of that money is going to go initially just to pay for that ladder truck. And, you know, the other money that's been promised, won't be able to get there. But as the NID stands, like I said, if it's implemented correctly, it's going to be a wonderful thing. The problem is, you know, it's going to be based on how many buildings are going in there. If you're only getting 1 or 2 buildings coming in for the first 2-3 years, you're not going to have those fees and funds coming in to the NID for them to disperse them as they want.
And
So-
David, why don't you explain to people out here who may not know what the NID, or what a NID is, or what the NID agreement is?
The NID is a neighborhood improvement district. I call it it's a fee. I call it like a self-imposed tax that they're putting on the development. The NID is supposed to have funds to disperse into township and buy things that would normally the township would have to buy to service the development. The fees will be collected according to the size of each building. I think there's 3 stages. When the plans are submitted, but there's 3 different phases of fees that are collected from the NID. And then there's a NID, a board or council that will be in charge of dispersing those fees. And it will be yearly. Once the buildings are up and they pay their initial fees, then there's a yearly fee on the square footage of each building. And there's they gave a list of things that they want to improve of. They want like I said, they're going to need a ladder truck. They want an ambulance service up there, the other improvements that have to be done. They want to give funds for the park and this and that. They have a lot of things they want to do with the NID money. But once again, it's a matter of when they get it, how much they get it, and, you know, paying it out accordingly.
So that would be pertaining to roads in the township, though. So it doesn't sound like that would be anything that would be to improve anything that's done to Portland roads.
Well, I think they have some latitude as to what they can spend the money on. If they see there's a problem in like Portland or anywhere else that could probably be because of the development, they'll say, all right, you know, development's causing this problem, we'll put NID money towards it.
But at this point, it would be safe to say that there's I mean, obviously the word roads, I think, was the last in the list of things that it covers. So, and that's first in our list of things that we're worried about. So there would be no guarantee. So to say that proactively, you know, you're proactively preparing for infrastructure issues, that's not really true, because you really don't know what you're going to get, where it's going to go to, or what it's going to go towards.
That's all. I feel there's a lot of things up in the air, and I would think that they would put the money where it's needed the most at that time.
Okay.
But you should definitely have a say in the NID, because you're right next door, and obviously your roads are going to get banged up.
Right.
I'm sure they'll have meetings and stuff, and you can come in and put your, well, Portland needs this, the development is causing this issue. How about some NID money?
Yeah, I worry because just like much of this project, there's no guarantees. Nothing is a guarantee. It's all, this is what we're gonna do, and this is why it's not gonna be a problem, but, I've seen one too many times that once things are approved and everything is in full swing and it's up, it's the small towns and the people that live in those towns that end up footing the bill. And then it's over, it's done, it's already up, it's already, the deal's already sealed and there's nothing that you can do. And it's already going, I don't understand how anyone could possibly say that the essence of living in Portland and what it means and what it feels like is not going to be completely changed. There's no way that you can say that. I mean, when I got to Portland, I had one son, I had my other son, and it was so great to be able to let them go downtown and cross the street to go fishing, in the Delaware or what. I would never let my daughter go downtown with that much traffic and cross the street, ever. So the very essence of living in a small town will be destroyed. So, to me, there is no positive. Me personally, there is no positive, and I hear that over and over again from residents.
Although there is one thing about the NID that might be known is that future NID fees can be used as collateral to obtain loans. So, loans.
Yeah, go ahead, Richard. Come up to the podium, please.
How you doing? Hello. Anyway, Richard Wilford Hunt. I just want to, Supervisor Friedman, can you tell this group, these guests that have come, what is the makeup of the board of the NIDMA? Who actually controls the NIDMA?
Okay, the NID is made up of 5 members. I believe we have Mr. Cole from Upper Mount Bethel, Judge Zito for Upper Mount Bethel, Lou Pector, Lisa Pector, and Lou's son, I forget his name, are the 3 members that were representing the RPL.
Thank you.
Seems rather unbalanced to me.
Yeah, we'll take a couple more questions, then I want to get over to East Bangor. Mark and then Fran.
Mark Metzger, just a quick statement. The NIDMA doesn't take over the NID until after 50% of the parcels are sold. So right now that is solely managed by RPL until 50% of the parcels are sold.
Thank you for that clarification. I don't know, I'm not an expert on it. It's just I know the general facts, and I'm sure there's people out there who can probably recite it verse by verse.
I think what you just said is really important, that you're not an expert on it, and I think that no one is an expert on most of this, and I think that that's where we're gonna get had. The fact that none of us know all the details of this, and we're just going by what people tell us. But when you dig just a little bit deeper to find out just a little bit more information, you tend to find out the big picture, and like I said, then it's gonna be too late.
Francis Fitzcarroll, 3001 North Delaware Drive, Mount Bethel. The NID is the 130 Act in Pennsylvania, and I have a copy of it on my computer, so if anybody wants the copy, come and give me your email address and I will send it to you. And that tells you a lot about it.
Thank you.
Did you want to say anything, Councilwoman?
Not
Okay.
just to echo some of the other concerns. I think everybody's concerned about the traffic, so just repeating what's already been said. I have nothing.
And then,
I don't really have anything to add other than repeat what has already been said. I think traffic is a main concern for everybody, especially Portland, especially with things unrelated to RPL right now, such as 611 being closed and the traffic that comes through there with the problems from Route 80, but that's a whole other topic, so I'll stop speaking.
I'd also like to say that the NID is, as soon as 50% of the buildings are put in, it lasts for 10 years until the LRTA tax relief goes away, and then the NID, I think, is done with.
That's correct, Mr.
yeah.
So like right around the time that the roads would see their most destruction?
Correct.
Gotcha.
East Bangor, and I know we don't have a microphone for you, so if you want to say anything, if you could come up to the podium, but we'd love to hear your thoughts and what you hear from your constituents.
I think we're agreeing high traffic on Route 512. So I don't think we've had anyone that would possibly be in favor of the development without questioning the impact that it would have on our community. And plus, you know, we're all concerned about the environmental impact on the whole Slate Belt area, the whole area in general. So it's not just about how it would impact us, but how it would impact everyone around us.
Right. Anything else from you guys?
Infrastructure would be done first, right, in, let's say, at 512 and 611. There needs to be a traffic light there. It's difficult now getting onto 611,
And where are you talking about?
512,
Yeah.
from East Bangor.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's proposed to have a traffic light there, but there will have to be one. It's bad now.
Right.
So it's gonna be even worse.
Yeah, there is a traffic light in the works for Route 512 and 611.
Okay, good. And you have to consider East Bangor, we have a very steep hill that trucks would be going down, which is,
Right.
you know, big tractor trailers, it would be a big issue.
Right.
And it should be noted, there was talk about a stoplight at Railroad Avenue by TK's for a traffic light, but it didn't meet the criteria. So my fear is that in the future, when that full build out, when they start getting enough traffic at these intersections, we're gonna have a traffic light maybe at the major intersections going from 512 up to Portland. Because let's face it, all the locals are gonna know the back way, and they're gonna be tearing through Portland to get up there on Route 80. So, like everybody says, that traffic is a major issue for coming up, because the DOT has proposed at full build-out 20,000 trips a day with 3,700 trucks. So,
Anything else from East Bangor? Hayden Huggin from East Bangor, do you have any questions? Okay. So it seems like truck traffic and the environment are the biggest concerns. I mean, that's what I'm hearing from you guys.
I think the other thing is, John, like, the things that they say in response to the questions that we have are not, like, cohesive. Like, you know, we have an issue with the rail overpass and 2 trucks being able to pass there, you know, as is. And, you know, people just say, well, they can, we've seen it. And it's not, you know, it's not true. You don't have that volume of trucks going through. And then, you know, you hear that, well, they're gonna dig into the road and they're gonna lower the road, but they're also taking out 800 acres of water absorbing plants that, you know, helped with the flooding. So it's like, there's nothing cohesive, one plan that takes care of every issue. It's just fighting against each other, you know, just to answer a question, to get on to the next step, to try to get to some imaginary finish line,
But
where
if
it doesn't
that-
matter anymore.
If that road is dug down, from looking at the flood map goes under that trestle.
And I agree. I mean, that whole entire area would need to be, you know, redesigned. Like, it would never be able to handle that. And, you know, just from living next to the truck stop, you know, aside from the fact that the traffic, Portland will never see any profit to its small businesses from the traffic. Like, the accessibility, like, you know, all we'll see is the air pollution from the trucks idling, because they're not gonna have anywhere to go. They're gonna get backed up daily and they're not gonna have anywhere to go. You know, and our kids are outside and they're gonna be breathing that air. And without having a plan for everything, it honestly feels like it's just, like you said, an answer here and an answer there to get to the next step, but it's not really thought out, you know. And sewer there, and the sewer water's gonna come from here, and this is what we're gonna do, and that's what we're gonna do. And then you have all these departments and people that don't talk, and, you know, all it takes is one stamp, and, you know, and it's a big problem.
And why is one town over's traffic impact study different than
Exactly,
the traffic
exactly.
impact study that
Yes.
has been done by the developer in this township, but one town over, a softball throw away, is a total different number
Right.
by an independent traffic impact study?
Yep, why does one organization have plan whatever while one is still with, you know, plan 1? And, you know, it just, you know, for this size, this scale and this size, this should not be like this.
It shouldn't be involved in one town that the town moves
Exactly.
in. It should be the Slate Belt.
Yeah,
Because we all share
Honestly.
512, we all share 611.
and as far as the railroad pass goes, I had asked that question, you know, and They are in contact with the railroad, but the railroad is notoriously hard to deal with. And I can see RPL's frustration just trying to get that overpass done, dealing with the railroad, but that's gonna be probably that's a major choke point for this development.
Right.
As far as bringing material in and anything out that would be produced in there.
But it wasn't only about just raising a bridge, though. When you think about doing it, the slow increase of the whole tracks, it's not just the overpass, it's miles to the left, to the right, to straighten that railroad bed out. So
I mean, you would need to expand lanes, like you would need to do so much to that area to make it be able to handle the traffic that we're talking about.
you know, and this
River
talk-
Road should look like 512 or 611.
And now they're talking about, what's that?
Lane Road, the same thing. And with the underpass on River Road, I've been in the fire service for 47 years. We've never had one truck that got stuck under that underpass. Up by Doughboys, that we had 3 car carriers that hit that bridge. Other than that, that's the only trouble that there's been with them bridges.
The major
PennDOT
trouble they're
marks
gonna have with
them
that bridge is simply constructing the buildings. That's why they have to have what's called a batch plan on site. They're gonna use precast concrete panels to build those buildings. They're not gonna get them under that overpass.
Right.
That's why they have to
build them all on
have,
site.
it's called
I
the
built
tip-up
many of them.
method. So, you know, and you saw what happens just bringing silos into ultra poly and stuff. So if they plan on putting a huge development in there, and we saw what happened to Marshfield Drive, how are you going to get material in there to build these buildings?
But you're talking 16-foot silos. You're not talking normal tractor trailer height loads.
Then what are you gonna do, make
13.6.
conditional use for your development? You can put stuff in here as long as it fits under the railroad trestle?
A standard 13.6 truck is a standard truck.
Have
And
you ever
If
seen
you have a batch
it?
plan on site, you build your panels on site anyway.
Yeah,
They're all
but you should-
prefabbed.
Yeah, that's why they can't get the prefab panels in.
Right, you pour them on site.
I know, I put them up, they're called
I
tip-ups.
put many of them up, yeah.
Yeah,
And my comment about the trucks going under the overpass was just statements directly from the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission comments.
Yeah, but they didn't have the facts straight when they were talking about it. They said that there was trucks that were stuck. Not in my 47 years that I've been in the fire service. We've never had one truck stuck under that bridge on River Road. Never.
well, they obviously won't be building steel silos in the development.
I don't care what they build. It doesn't matter to me what they build. And the same with the NID. The maintenance fee is perpetual. The yearly maintenance fee was perpetual last time I read it.
It's 10 years.
No, that's when it sunsets, the initial with all the fees.
Yeah, but do you think there's?
But the maintenance fees go on forever.
No.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They absolutely do.
We'd have to look at the agreement again.
Yeah.
Well, I would hope you've looked at it by now.
I've looked at it many times, Ron.
Yeah, absolutely, it's very clear what it says.
Charlie, you wanted to make a statement, and then Tara.
Charles Cole, 6 Riverton Road. I'd like to speak to the environmental issue and the area-wide impacts of things, which people like to push off and say, oh, we're going to look at this intersection, that's the only thing affected. And that's not true. That's how they like to divide and conquer. But there's several issues which are very important to the area, and one of them is air quality. And a couple of you have alluded to it, but not gotten into the real details. Lehigh Valley has some of the worst air quality in the country. And especially here in Pennsylvania, it's down the Lehigh Valley, and this drifts up our way with prevailing westerly winds. We've just started working with Lehigh on a purpleair.com, I think it is, monitoring system. But air quality is a silent killer. Asthma, which leads to lung cancer in some cases. You need to be looking at that. That's quality of life. Besides that, it's death. Water quality and quantity, and that's something between Portland and Portland Borough Authority and RPL and the township. That's an area-wide quality. Cost-benefit analysis needs to be done on these things. What are the downsides versus taxes and jobs? But don't forget about air quality. When you have 22,000 vehicles, it's going to get much, much worse.
Thanks. Tara?
Good evening, Tara Mezzanotte. I live in Knowlton Township. So two things on this. I wanted to, since you have this forum about community impacts, I wanted to let you know what I'm aware of that Warren County submitted to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission over countywide concerns related to potential traffic impacts that are projected to come over the Portland-Columbia Bridge. They featured concerns about the village of Columbia. It's a residential village, much like Portland and Lower Mount Bethel. Concerns about the fact that Knowlton has 5 truck stops. You know, that is our legacy. We asked for it. However, does the infrastructure is the infrastructure in place to support the trucks that would be coming over to our truck stops to access them? You know, what happens when they, if they're stacked on the sides of the roads? You know, I'm very aware of what has happened down in the Lehigh Valley, you know, on the ramps and whatnot. So there's concern about that. Our major truck stop does get full. So what happens there? They also featured the reality that the Delaware Water Gap, I-80 through the Delaware Water Gap, currently sees, well, last year it saw about 50,000 vehicle trips per day. I should say the year before was 50,000 vehicle trips per day. And this year that went up significantly, largely, I think we can say, because 611 is closed. So if the projection for at full build out is, let's say, you know, 22. I like to round not low, but I think it was 24. So let's say it's 22,000 vehicle trips per day coming in and out of that facility. I'm not going to get into nitty gritty on which is coming down, projected to come down 611, which 80, which over the bridge, whatnot. If that's the case there, and Monroe County has a similar square footage of industrial development in the plan, already in the hopper, not just being considered, I think it's fair to say that there's upwards of 20,000 vehicle trips per day, possibly coming in and out of Monroe County. Now, a good portion of that you would think be coming down 33 or going up to 84, but there's a number of that will also be coming through the Delaware Water Gap. So it's a cumulative compounding effect. Of course, I'm a little focused on the Delaware Water Gap, as you know. So I'm sensitive to those, but I figured if you have this kind of forum and you're taking this kind of record, I would share that and just put it out there.
Thanks, Sarah. We did invite Knowlton as well. So maybe at our next meeting, you can help us with that.
Sure thing.
Great, thanks.
I have a question. As this whole development has progressed, has the developer once thought of reaching out to people in the surrounding areas who are going to be impacted?
Anyone know an answer to Ms. Newman's question?
When I answered that, sitting on that side as a public comment, when I asked it as a resident, I was told, this is happening in our town, doesn't matter anywhere else.
Yeah.
Is what was answered at a public meeting.
I expected as much.
And that's just me as a resident at the time.
Yeah, yeah. My other question is, what kind of interaction have you had with PennDOT? in terms of the traffic.
PennDOT has presented their traffic plan.
They, what?
They have presented their traffic plan.
And is it just for Upper?
No, there's mitigation, they mentioned mitigation for the other communities.
Yeah, because our village of Martins Creek has been severely impacted since the Route 33 interchange has opened through Tatamy. And we have homes in Martins Creek that are 8 feet from the highway. And those people are beside themselves. I can't imagine what's going to happen. I mean, there are not going to be any designated routes because that's not legal, I guess, in Pennsylvania. And we already in Martins Creek have tractor trailers going on township roads and on people's front yards and being stuck. And we've tried to address it with PennDOT without any luck. So I just feel very worried about the residents in Martins Creek, a lot of whom are elderly and they can't afford to pick up and go someplace else at this point in their lives. So
We had a meeting of PennDOT, in fact, Portland was present at that meeting also, so.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a challenge to, you know, ideally, we'd like to have the truck traffic just on River Road and River Road only. But there's a good chance it's gonna be going down 611. There's even a chance it's gonna be using Potomac and some township roads. And I think that's a challenge for us here in Upper Mount Bethel. I think it'd be a challenge for both your towns as well. And maybe even gets to East Bangor as well. But, you know, how do you keep the trucks off the local roads? That's a question.
Well, 3 letters going to keep you off the trucks. GPS.
exactly. I mean, you think about if you cross into Belvedere, do you know how many times there are semis there that are being turned around because the GPS tells them that they can cross there?
Last Monday, they had an Amazon truck pulled over at the bridge. I came back from Phillipsburg at the bridge, and there was an Amazon truck. They had it all blocked up on Monday.
Yeah,
Yeah, Judy.
Judy Henkel, Robin Hood Road in Mount Bethel. I'm appreciating what everybody else has said here, so I don't want to say it again. But there are people, and this is to answer Ms. Newman's question, there are people in our township who have tried and tried to get information, let alone letting any of the rest of you know. So I'm hoping that this isn't just a one and done. I'm hoping there's a way that we could keep connected, or that other people or other communities are somehow made aware of when we have these meetings and things. And I know that's the biggest problem we have, even as the so-called concerned citizens. How do you reach out to people? Not everybody's on the internet or Facebook. Our website itself for the township didn't always have correct information. I have to thank you guys. You have really been great in getting information up there and being transparent on everything. So I'd like to see this go on. There's so many things. I know right now we are looking at traffic and the immediate questions, and we haven't been given answers before, but that's by design. You know, anybody, to me, now I know there's people sitting here that would love this development and they're part of wanting it to happen. But from my side of being the concerned environmental person, to me, it's just crazy. Why would you ever pick a site like that with the slopes and where's the water coming from? Where's the sewer going from? Oh, all of a sudden now we've got a municipal authority crammed down our throat that nobody wanted other than a small group of people. So the questions weren't answered. They skirted around issues, and quite frankly, they pushed the envelope and put things through while they could get the votes. And now, it's like Portland is saying, it's piecemeal here and there. Nothing seems to be really planned out. Oh, there's great maps. But how is that actually going to be implemented without destroying our townships, our quality of life? I mean, I'm all about the river. And so from the water gap all the way down to Easton, between Upper and Lower Mount Bethel, I don't want to say we own the river, but our side of the river is our two townships. There's so much we could do there with other kinds of ideas. I know everybody's saying they own the property, you can't tell them what to do. Well, I know. That's zoning tells them what they can and can't do. And they just pushed it beyond the realm, and I don't see how things, no matter what's happening, all the things we heard tonight, how are they bringing in all that money to pay for fire trucks, to pay for roads, pay for ambulances? They're supposed to be now, instead of just $1 million environmental center, there's a $2 million township building, so we don't have to meet in the grubby garage. It doesn't add up. And so I hope that with all our partners, and I'm also hoping through Plan Slate Belt, we can start the 10 municipalities working together and think of, for the towns, their culture, their heritage, the slate industry, our farming, we should be looking at that, and that's our ID. Our ID isn't a huge urban scale, concrete buildings 100 feet high along a wild and scenic river. I'll quit at that, but I really hope that we keep, discussing and talking together and getting the information out. I mean, our concerned citizens was looked at as opposition, and I just said to Mr. Engel, we don't look at ourselves that way. We're a group of people. Like you're having a party and you all throw in a little money for a pizza, well, we're on a bigger scale than that. Our party was, took on a bigger, powerful, and whatever. But we have always, and if you look at all the people, and I meant to say this at a meeting, when our guys come up and give a statement, they want to stay within the 3 minutes, they want to be absolutely factual, and they have researched it inside and out. So we can't be criticized for saying anything that's derogatory or incorrect. So that's where oversight. You took away our township amendments in the text amendment, said, well, the state and federal will have oversight, and that's what concerned citizens have done. We're saying that's the oversight, and we're going to hold their feet to the fire. So I don't know if it's a help to Portland, but I feel sorry for you guys that you haven't been a part of this whole discussion, but it hasn't been the township's fault at this point with this board. So let's hope you continue on, and let's make this happen. Think of who we could be in the future if this hadn't been here, and how can we make it better than what they're planning? Because I don't see how it's going to work. Not with the economy now and everything happening in the Lehigh Valley about warehouses. Do we really think manufacturing's coming in? Do we really think they pay that much? Do we really think there's going to be, now I heard the last thing was like 2,000 something, almost 3,000 jobs. Oh, before it was 4. I mean, it's like quicksand. I will stop because I could go on
Thank you,
forever.
Judy.
But-
Appreciate it.
But thank you all for
Ellen.
being here.
You bring up a good point, though. I don't understand how you can plan when you don't know the occupants or the usage. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
And I understand like what you're saying, there's personal opinions and then there's questions that you have when you're representing people. And my personal opinion, of course why would I know the changes that are going to happen, but I also understand that when, something is allowed to happen by law, then, that's what's allowed to happen. But what I don't understand is why we have to be careful what we're saying when we're asking questions about impacts that are gonna happen to our community. Like, there's nothing wrong with asking for a cohesive plan and to understand every aspect of what is going to, be laid out. And it's not just me, I'm not just a person asking questions, there's organizations, there's up and down people that we've sat with that don't understand what's happening, that ask us questions that should very well know the answers for who they are and where they're speaking from and don't have the answers. And again, this is the scale and size. We've never seen anything like this in this area. So this is the first shot at it, with it being like this. It shouldn't be this way. And I don't understand why we should be so scared to say that.
No, I think you have every right to say that, and we want to hear that. We want to hear your concerns, you know, it's, like I said earlier, it's coming in our town, but it's obviously affecting your town as well. Oh, go ahead, Eleanor.
Hi, Eleanor Shelton. I have just a question, actually. Mr. Freeman, you had discussed mitigation, and 611 has a plan, and I wasn't, my biggest thing is, okay, the NID might have some money. It doesn't have all the money to do 611. It doesn't have the money to do all the mitigation that needs to happen. So my question is twofold. And I don't know if you can answer it or not tonight, but if you've seen the PennDOT plan, what does the mitigation look like? I mean, is it 2 lanes in each direction in Mount Bethel? Is it what happens in 611 in Lower Mount Bethel in Martins Creek? And do they have a timeline for it? Because if these buildings are all built and PennDOT's not planning on doing this until 20 years down the road, it's an issue. So that's it's a question, I don't, you know, but it's going to affect all of these people who are going to be waiting for the mitigation. So anyway, go.
Well, there is a major plan for, between Route 512 and Portland, and some of the mitigations are like coming off the toll bridge. Some of the corners and stuff are gonna have to be widened, you know, to swing tractor trailers in. Traffic lights, they may have to have a traffic light on River Road for the traffic coming in and out of there. I believe there was even talk about the bridge and the concrete bridge.
Yes,
down
I
in,
know.
Down in, but there's been talk about that for years. And of course, they had talked about a traffic circle for 512 and 611. That was, obviously that wasn't, because any intersection now, and I guess involving the state, they have to consider a traffic circle, a roundabout, whatever and then they have to have the pros and cons to put these traffic circles in. But it didn't apply for 611, 512. That's why they're just putting the traffic light in. And if you want to know what's involved, just go up there to Water Gap. You can see what that traffic circle is and the area that would take up. And if you want to see a really big traffic circle, go up to Route 209 and 115 in Broadheadsville. That thing is huge. So it depends on the amount of traffic that these traffic circles have to be constructed and laid out for. But the other,
There is a letter from PennDOT to RPL that says that they need 2 lanes of traffic going from Portland to Route 512 plus a left-hand turn lane. Now, if you're familiar with that corridor, how is that going to happen? They're going to have to acquire property on both sides of the highway to enforce that. That's either going to be eminent domain, and it's all going to reside on taxpayer dollars from the state, most likely, since they're responsible for that road. So there's that. And then with all of that truck traffic that we're talking about, the maintenance on these roads are going to go way high. And and I read that NID document, I don't recall seeing any maintenance fees going on forever, but if that is the case, who sets those fees? Because as time goes on, those fees are going to have to be elevated to deal with the road maintenance, which is going to be 3,000 trucks a day, beat the hell out of the roads pretty good. Where's the money going to come from to keep them repaired? We don't have that kind of tax base.
well, that's 611, that's a state road.
That's right, but River Road is the same, and perhaps other sideways, because we all know they're not going to stick to those routes if they get clogged or otherwise obstructed.
Yeah, and we were looking at the NID agreement.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't being rude. I was trying to
That's
find
okay.
the sunset.
You can be rude to me.
I wasn't on Facebook.
I'm just saying, this is a serious problem because there's been no financial plan presented. We don't know how much money the developer is going to commit. We don't know how much public money is going to be required to put this in place. We have no idea where the financing is going to come from. We have absolutely no clue as to what we're getting into. And like Charlie Cole said, you really need to do a full life cycle accounting of what's going on here, because the initial costs are going to be minimal. Eventually, the recurring costs are always going to overtake this, and you got to know where you're going to be at. And there's got to be revenue projections to show that this can be accommodated. And if we don't see that, we're buying a pig in a poke. And that's my real gripe with what the last Board of Supervisors did. They didn't look into any of that. They took a set of 9 PowerPoints that the developer used to pitch the program, and they used those numbers as if they were gospel. They were developed before COVID was put in place. Nobody that I know of has revised any of those tax revenue projections, cost projections since that time. And we all know that since COVID, costs have gone through the roof. Costs for vehicles, costs for supplies, costs for everything. That's all got to be re-looked at before anybody signs anything on the dotted line. So before we go gung-ho saying, hey, the answer is an industrial park, maybe it's not. And that's what I keep trying to tell people.
Yeah, and just looking at this sunset provision of the NID, the NID does have, this NID agreement does have a chance of expiring when there's development threshold, but it can be extended.
Hey, John?
So,
If you don't sell all the buildings all at once, how does this NID come together? And that's the other question that I kept asking the board, the previous board. What happens if you don't have enough revenue to cover the costs of the NID? How do you fill the gaps? That's going to come on the taxpayer too.
I would agree. You know, it says right here that the NID, the RPNID.
Android users.
That's right. Can be extended by petitioning the Board of Supervisors and asking them to extend the term of the NID. So it can be extended. It can expire, but it can be extended. So, Charlie. And we're going to have to wrap this up soon. So if anybody else wants to make a public comment, I suggest you do it now because we're going to wrap this up real soon. Go
30
ahead.
seconds. I'm looking at the text amendment. Right at the end, you have the non-applicable things. One of them, on the I-2, I-3, there's going to be no environmental assessment, and there's going to be no community impact assessment.
Or performance impact.
So, I don't know, get it out, see if you read it the same as I. You want to know how things got where they are now, just start with that.
I just have a question for the different towns that are here before we have to wrap this up. It's just a hypothetical question. What businesses would you prefer to see in that area, the 800 acres? I know that they own it, and I'm not saying that they're going to listen. I'd like your feedback, because even if we put in a single Dunkin' Donuts, it's going to increase traffic in the area. So anything that gets done there is going to have some type of effect. What would you?
But not 23,000 vehicles a day, John.
I understand that, which is why I'm.
Let me ask my question, if you don't mind. I don't have to say my name because everybody knows me, so there's no point in saying my name. But it's Michael Onufrak, and I live on Summerfield Drive.
Well, then this will give you time to think about that.
The question really is directed to Portland. It's directed to you guys. You know that we have an issue in this town about sewage disposal. It is probably even bigger than RPO's constructions. It's that. And I know that they have talked, RPO, about trying to hook up with Portland's sewage system. Now, I attended one meeting 6 months, a year back, and I would swear that someone from Portland said, we don't take industrial waste. And I don't see what the hell RPO intends to utilize, but if you're not taking industrial waste, then they have to come to what they want to do here, which we're fighting like hell not to let them do it. So I'm just curious about, does Portland have a formal position or a definitive position on RPO's being able to hook up with your system?
And if you can't answer that,
We don't have
it's gonna, Ye-
When do they talk to them?
Yeah, Mike, I don't know if they can answer on behalf of all of Portland Council. Yeah,
Okay. Okay, thank you.
but if you want to respond in any way.
No,
you can.
I wouldn't want to make a formal statement. I would just invite you to come to our next council meeting and ask.
Well, sometimes your council meetings are the same night as ours. So,
When is it?
We do have a special,
March 4th.
you're,
Monday, March 4th.
okay.
But he can't talk at the Portland meeting since he's not a resident or a taxpayer.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
we'd like to come to an upcoming meeting, and I also talked to Councilman Prater about this as well, and just asking Portland to make an official statement. So we should make that at a meeting, right?
Yeah, if you want to be on the agenda, you would just have to let the secretary know the Wednesday before, so that would be
The Wednesday
today. So
before.
you missed our 5 o'clock deadline, but if you let them know in advance, then
They're
you
even
can.
more strict than you are, John.
Really?
Yeah. They don't have the 3-minute clock, but they are more strict than you.
Ron, I'm gonna give you 3 minutes and 15 seconds tonight. How about that?
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Again, I'd be lax if I didn't come to the microphone. I think I own real estate in pretty much every place in the Slate Belt. I don't see Wind Gap here, I don't see Penargio here, I don't see Rosetta here, I don't see Bangor here, I do see East Bangor here. I grew up in Portland, and I remember when Portland had a bank, a post office, a liquor store, a grocery store, a men's clothing store, a shoe repair, I could go on and on. And it's sad, I grew up there, and I just love, and I still love that town, by the way. I still get my mail there, I just like that town. It's where my roots were. But in all due respect, I'd be lax if I didn't do a little bit of cross-examination, because they claim I'm fairly good at it. The question was earlier, have you had any discussions in Portland with River Pointe about your sewage treatment plant? Because for the people who don't understand this, most places have a sewage treatment plant, have an authority. Thanks to, I shouldn't say Democrats, but it was Democrats and connections in Portland, you got a grant, you have a sewer system with no authority. It's owned by your council, and you run it. Have you ever been contacted by River Pointe about anything involving your sewage treatment plant? It's a simple yes or no question.
If you have any questions that you want answered, we have minutes that are posted up on our website. That's not what we're here to talk about. So you're more than welcome to come to a meeting and ask your questions. You're just wasting time, so.
This is not about Portland, this is Upper Mount Bethel.
She answered your question,
Okay, yeah,
Ron.
she answered it because she doesn't want to answer it. Let's be perfectly blunt.
That's her
okay?
prerogative.
So, okay, let me continue on. East Bangor. I like East Bangor. It's a great little town. You know what their problem is right now? It has nothing to do with River Pointe. It's those stupid-ass dump trucks, one after the other, coming across that goddamn bridge endlessly, and then back again endlessly. And on our roads here in Upper Mount Bethel too, by the way. That is your biggest problem, am I correct, right now?
and add tractor trailers to
Okay.
those dump trucks.
Thank you, okay.
You go down the road and you're down 512 and it feels like you're running over rumble strips the whole time.
Okay.
It's not just the dump trucks, it will be added tractor trailers to it.
Okay.
And going over your bridge and my road and my speed
I
humps.
agree. And those trucks, right this minute, the major impact in the Slate Belt is those dump trucks. Whether it's Portland, whether it's Mount Bethel, whether it's East Bangor, them damn dump trucks are the problem. What do they generate? They generate maybe a couple of coffees and a cupcake at Penn Jersey because frankly, they go back to Jersey, they come over and dump their stuff here, we don't know what they're dumping, they go back to Jersey. That's a problem. I don't hear any discussions about that. And I gotta say this much. I'm impressed so far with Mr. Erler. He raised a question earlier. What would we like to see in there? Maybe we should try to do something about what we would like to see in there.
That means your time's up, Ron.
There is a God.
Everybody's rent and taxes goes up. I only got one or two small things. Okay, let me go past the sirens. Lower Mount Bethel Township.
It's not gonna stop until you get down.
You are a rural municipality. I agree. And you take care of farmers. What you should point out to people who own farms in Lower Mount Bethel Township You literally took the value of 90% of their land with your zoning. If a farmer now wants to go to a bank and borrow against his farm to buy equipment to keep farming, his farm, if it was, let's say, worth $1 million, it might now be worth $200,000. That's what you've done. I understand your argument about Martins Creek. It's a good argument. I go through there when I go grocery shopping sometimes. It's a great argument. But when you say about what you've done to the farmer down there is steal 90% of the value of his land.
Well, let me
Okay,
address
I
that.
I think I've made all my points pretty clear. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion for adjournment.
All right, you can shut the alarm off now, thank you.
I want to move further to the front.
Fred, if the alarm, we'll wait and see what the alarm does. This will be the last comment. All right, Tom, and then that's it.
I'd like to ask that, there were a lot of questions asked, a lot of things. We should come up with a repository of questions that people have, common questions, so that people can submit questions anonymously. I don't know how much work that would be for Stavros, but
Fred, we'd love to have you on board. Welcome. We're happy to bring you on.
I don't know nothing about those computers. So I would suggest that, and I also, one of my points is I've said, RPL has a right to develop that land, and there's some people that would like to see nothing there, all right? I personally believe that he has a right to develop that land. So then, I think people need to decide, where are they gonna drive their stake in the ground, that this is too much, and then you can start a negotiation. I think we need to define, your positions, your exact positions. How many trees can you cut down, all right? Start with a position, and then you can negotiate. What I hear too much when I talk to people is that the other side won't listen. And I talk to both sides, and I'm sure both sides look at me and go, why is he talking to them? All right? I actually have a foot on both sides of this. All right? I see his point, and I see the I don't want no stinking sewage field in my neighborhood point, because that's my major point. But I think we need to, actually start a discussion. It kind of bothers me that no one from RPL is here. All right? Now, I know that might stifle conversation. All right? I understand that. But I think that we need to get back to having a dialogue. It blows my mind that there has not been a discussion with other townships. It blows my mind. All right? And that's it.
Thanks.
Tom Gilmore, Morningside Drive, Upper Mount Bethel. Thank you, Ron, for your trip down memory lane in Portland. And I think that's important, right? Because we've all talked about the traffic. We've alluded to some of the reasons this was sold in. This was sold in because it's going to save Upper Mount Bethel. It's going to bring jobs and taxes and money. And we know a lot of what we were sold on that is hoo-ha. What we will lose by bringing in something of this scale, and I think you're right, the horse is out of the barn, but we've got to control what this becomes. What this becomes destroys our small town character, destroys the opportunity for small businesses to come back into Portland, for Upper Mount Bethel to find that small business group that we need to help drive this, that we can use the characters of our small towns here in the Slate Belt to drive that economic revitalization. It doesn't just have to be sell it all to the first developer that comes down the pike and buys all of Ron's land. We have the opportunity to do something special here. There are case studies across the United States of small rural areas like ours, with a gateway community to what will likely eventually be a national park. If we sell that character now, we won't be able to capitalize on that later and use that to drive a really unique economic engine. I think the previous board was short-sighted in the fact that they did not look to ways to drive economic progress here beyond selling out to a developer. I've seen it happen in other towns. I've seen it happen sadly, the wrong way in other towns. We grew up in Asbury Park. We saw it done the wrong way there. I can talk to you guys about the disaster of a development that's going on there and has really burdened that town. While you see some progress, what's going on from an infrastructure perspective is a nightmare. We're going to face those same things here. I'd love to talk all night long about this, but I think what we've got to do is look towards the future of what we want our towns to be, put a cohesive and coherent plan together as local municipalities to drive that, and really reconsider what we're doing here with this particular project. Because I think you're right, you made a very good point. There is nothing cohesive about this plan. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're absolutely correct.
Now, I want to say something too. You know, all this new talk about 4 lanes on 611, just very quickly, 8 businesses coming up 611. Most of those businesses, and if a domain comes in, obviously they sit road frontage. What happens? There's no room for 4 lanes. You have a new deli, you have a bank, you have a dollar store, a new bakery coming in, we have a diner, smoke shops, pizza places. Never mind, I just went over 8. Those people, a majority of those people, live here in this township. We collect the EIT money for those businesses. We put a development in. If they come from New Jersey, if they come from Rosetto, if they come from Plainfield Township to come work in the great Upper Mount Bethel, how much of that tax money are we doing? Where if those lanes have to widen and those businesses are no longer in our township that we are collecting, I think it might be a loss. Maybe not 2,000, 3,000, but are we considering this 2,000, 3,000 jobs that are going to be employed bringing in this development? Are you considering the possible union workers that are building them? Or is it the people that will come every day to work and punch in and physically be in that building? Just thought, listening to Tom and you know, thinking how many businesses are coming up that road. Most of those people work there because it's local. Some are retired and it's just extra income. So.
Yeah. All right, well, I think it's been a productive meeting, and
One more here.
I get 1 second.
Thank you for doing this, seriously, thank you,
Yeah, and
appreciate it.
we'll keep doing it. We'll, you know, we'll kind of decide when we do it periodically. But yeah, I think it's a good start, and East Bangor, thank you for coming, and Lower Mount Bethel and Portland. And we did invite Delaware Water Gap. We invited Rosetto, Washington Township. So it's the first one. You know, we can get these guys in the future, and hopefully we get more and more dialogue. Next time, we'll try and get a couple pizzas here, and maybe that'll get the other towns to come in. Russ, come on up.
I just wanted to hear what Mr. Earler had to say. You kind of got cut off there. I just wanted to
It was just a hypothetical on what businesses might you like to see within that 800 acre industrial park.
I definitely wouldn't just want to give my opinion, so if I could just take that back to council and
Absolutely,
residents and get like an
It's a
overall idea.
thinker.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Sandra.
What did you say, a supermarket? You want a Wegmans or a Weis?
But also, Bonnie and Susan, if you guys have any input, we'd love to hear, just to get you thinking.
We'll bring it up at council meeting and get some opinions from our council.
Okay, thank you.
That'd be great. Okay, well, thank you everyone for attending, and I think it was a productive way to begin discussion. Have a great night, and we'll see you here again soon. Oh, till